So, good morning, everyone. So, as promised, we are beginning with our lessons. Today, we will be discussing about lesson one, which is about the introduction to the contemporary world. To begin with, let's talk about the nature of the contemporary world. So, the first one is contemporary world helps the learners become interested in the modern or contemporary world problems and issues that all societies face. It also develops competencies and construct knowledge significant in the contemporary world. So in contemporary world, we will be learning about certain issues in our society in terms of political, economical, even religious aspects. We will be talking about them. These issues are, we will be also finding possible solutions to them. We will be cultivating opinions among ourselves on what can we do to help in alleviating these issues. We can also develop as we learn these subject or course. We can also develop certain competencies and skills. We will be discussing them more specifically as the lesson progresses. So, what are the fields of learning involved in CW? Basically, these are the fields of learning that can also be talked about when learning this subject. So, the first one is geography. So, a geographic perspective helps learners consider phenomena in terms of territory, that is, in terms of the effects of human action on spatial organization. So, in a way, CW is connected to geography in terms of expanding businesses, in terms of trade, in terms of political relations. What are its impacts na uh, that is what are its effects on our physical lands, on our organizations, on our community. So the next one is history. So of course, because CW is also somehow part of history, history will always be involved. So in a historical perspective, it helps learners view the same phenomena in terms of duration by seeking the origins of the said phenomena and elements of change and continuity related to them. So we will be learning CW in a historical manner. So there is a timeline to which things have occurred. In CW, we will be learning about things or stuff that have occurred in terms of politics, religions, starting from the early 1800s up to present time. So the next one is, of course, economics. Taking into account the economic dimension, it helps learners understand the choices societies make regarding the organization of trade, production, distribution, and consumptions, as well as the organization of work. So CW mainly focuses and tackles those of history and economics, more on economics tayo medyo. Um, we will not be studying our study will not involve any numbers or calculations, but the underlying policies na we have currently in our modern world in terms of economics. So what are these effects? What are their effects to how we live as a community or a society? So basically, these economic policies that are occurring or currently present, they mainly affect the way we live as a community, a country. So the next one is political science. So of course, ruling is also very important when studying the contemporary world. So considering the political dimension, this helps the learners understand the organization of power within societies and the formation of power relations. So in political science, because we are involved, we are a community. We also need a set of people that will set rules in governing our community or our society. So in CW, in terms of political science, we question the things such as who rules or who makes the rules. So also you'll be talking about the material and formal object of CW. So if you're not familiar with material and formal object, in terms of philosophy, most specifically or more specifically in logic, material object refers to what is the thing that we will be studying, and formal object refers to how we will study something, or in particular this course. So for material object, the material object of CW is globalization. We will be studying about globalization all throughout from Unit 1 to Unit 4. So the working definition of globalization, according to them, is the expansion and the continuous intensification of social relations and consciousness across world time and world space. We will be studying about it, its effects. So how is globalization, its presence in our globe, in our community. So for the formal object, as what I've said earlier, how do we study CW? We can study CW by looking into the global society and its related network, because it created an industrial company and have increased its economic and political effects in faraway parts of the globe. So globalization is the what? We will study the globalization, I mean, and then as we study this, we will look into the global society, our organizations. So what are their functions? How do they function? What are its related effect in how we live as a community or a society? That is the material and formal object of CW. So of course, in learning CW, we will also develop competencies or skills. So we have set of competencies. The first one is the methodological competencies. So on methodological competencies, we have the first, using creativity. So as we learn CW, we will also learn how to be creative. So learners develop this cross-curricular competency by using the resources and materials available in an imaginative way. So they must observe the elements of contemporary world problem or issue and explore the situation and adopt a flexible approach, remaining receptive to new ideas. So when we study CW, of course, these are a lot of issues coming from different sectors of study or areas of or areas like in religion, in sociology, more on economics, history. So we also learn to think out of the box, to think or to take the unpaved road. So we learn how to communicate our thoughts and to be creative in how to solve them. So the next one for this set of competencies is using information and communication technologies. So when we study CW, we will be also mastering information and communication technologies, and we will use them, of course, in learning and also in evaluating the effectiveness of their use. So as part of globalization, technology is a must. So technology is already here and we are currently using it. We are also finding more ways to use it in our everyday life. We are trying to incorporate it more now that we are in a global pandemic than before, because the use of it is really needed as of today. So in CW, we will learn a lot of things in terms of communication and technology. So another set of competencies is personal and social competencies. So the first one is to unlock individual potential. So how do we unlock the individual potential, our individual potential? So we do this by encouraging our learners, or you guys in particular, to participate in social debate or take a position on world issues while respecting the opinions of others, and they will develop this competency. So CW, because it has issues, it has problems, there are often times that we will try to share our own opinion or own stand within regarding these issues and problems. So while doing this, we will learn how to communicate our thoughts to other people. We will learn also how to listen and respect the thoughts of other people. We can also examine the course themes it will enable us to compare our perceptions and values, to take their place among others, and thus to achieve a sense of belonging to society. So in college, particularly in first year, I wasn't very fond of doing group works with my classmates because I think that I do well more when I do it individually than when I do it in the groups. But because my major, social studies, is very parang the topics or the lessons that are taught to us are debatable or arguable, that is when the time that I have discovered the sense of happiness or fulfillment every time my professor says that my answers are correct. So that is why I was encouraged to speak more, and eventually my speaking skills have also gradually improved. So in CW, you might also discover any hidden potential that you guys have or that you guys might have. So another one is to cooperating with others. So in developing this competency, learners understand that the need to contribute to team efforts, to interact with an open mind, and to evaluate their participation in collaborative work. So they learn to see that participation in social life and cooperation among individuals help make social change possible. I forgot to include it, but CW is basically also like sociology. And when we talk about sociology, we talk about groups of people, we talk about how they interact. So, in CW, you will also learn because we are fond of arguing here, we will be arguing a lot here. We also will learn how to listen and to work in teams. How do we work with others? So we will also learn to how to work with, for example, a lazy classmate. You will know how to learn to work with a very energetic classmate. You will also learn how to work with different types of people that you haven't met before. So that is one of the advantages of this course or program. So another set of competencies is of course, communication related competencies. We will learn in CW or in this course how to communicate appropriately. So because we solve problems, of course, when we find solutions or when we try to find solutions, we will also learn how to ask and to answer questions that are related to our topic or our lesson. So, in doing this, we will also be able to learn how to communicate effectively our thoughts. So, learners develop this competency when they express their opinions or share their research findings and conclusions regarding a problem or issue in the contemporary world. So, you do this or you gain this when you say what you want to say, when you share your findings, or when you share what you have learned as you dwell on the topic or the lesson. They learn to manage the communication process, become familiar with various modes of communication, and use the most appropriate method to communicate the conclusions for their investigations. Communicating effectively, not just communicating alone, because communicating effectively is very different from communicating. When you communicate alone, you just really communicate, you just talk. You don't let others talk, or you don't value the opinion or the suggestions of others. So communicating effectively is our goal here. So why do we study CW? So I've gathered here some answers from famous or yeah very known people, I guess, but I think they're not very known. You're not familiar with them. According to Doug Olena, he's a doctor in philosophy and ethics. One must study the contemporary world not so much to learn about it, but to be transformed by the process of studying. So to study the air is to know what pollutants one breathes, and motivation to find a better atmosphere. So when we are not aware of what is happening around us, we are like living um we are like we have no idea. We have no idea what's happening. So if you don't take this course seriously, the CW, you will not learn that there are also a lot of problems that our world has, not just in our country but also in other countries or places around the world. So it's not just poverty that is the problem of this world. It's also power struggle. It's also neglect on other people that are suffering. It is also on problems when it comes to trade and policies on economics and also in politics. So when we try to be oblivious of these problems, it's like we really are not aware of what's happening, so we just don't care. So when we study CW, we discover the ability to empathize and to sympathize with these people who are suffering. So another one is a quote from Ellen B. Cutler. So according to her, the contemporary world is the artist world. It was true from the moment that humans became artists. Understanding that world, exploring it, expanding it, reacting to it, and are among the chief inspirations of creative activity. It is that the contemporary world is important as a subject. It is rather than the contemporary world is unavoidable as a subject. So we cannot avoid studying contemporary world. Contemporary world, in other words, means the present world, the world we currently live in. We cannot avoid studying it because we are in it. We are living in it. So, what more can we do than to study it? Another one is it contemporary world is very significant because it presents a reality where the world have currently shrink, meaning that parang lumiit. So distances have come into closer and closer, things moving faster, and human life started to find easy way and interact mutually in the other side of the globe. So because we are very connected now, take for example the internet. You can reach people miles across from the globe just because we have the internet. So just because the world is shrinking, that also means that our tie as a community is also strengthening. So because we consider ourselves as part of one community, we also think that we are also included on what is the problem of another country. So we do not neglect the problems of others. We also share them. We empathize to what their issues are. And they also in turn help us if we ever needed anything. So that is what CW is all about. Awareness and empathizing to what is happening around us, what is happening around you. So another is this is a quote from Jay Shetty. Knowledge is power and it can help you overcome any fear of the unexpected. When you learn, you gain more awareness through the process. And you know what pitfalls to look for as you get ready to transition to the next level. So all in all, contemporary world is all about awareness. Awareness of what is happening in the world all across the globe and even outside the world. So when we gain that awareness, when we gain that knowledge, we gain also a lot of perspective. We the way we look at the world will change once we acquire this knowledge. So that when we used to live obliviously, you are happy in your own world. But when, for example, you've already learned the problems that the world are currently facing right now, you also try to be empathetic of what others are going through in the world. So also we know, according to him, we know what pitfalls to look for. So these are like when you encounter an issue and you like map out the things that could happen and you look out for the bad things that could happen. You don't take the path that might possibly lead you to something that is not good. So you learn. So you learn how to escape them or you learn how to solve them. So that is also helpful in attaining for you to transition to the next level. So of course, learning is not just a one-way process. So when you learn something, you move on to the next issue or problem. And then you will also try to find new solutions. And then you also gain another learning or knowledge. Then that is a continuous cycle na. So you don't stop. So learning doesn't stop in school. Learning is like an everyday process. So that's all. And remember to always associate the contemporary world, learning the contemporary world to awareness. Because that is what we need today, awareness. So for as promised, an activity 1 for lesson 1, we have an activity entitled Communicating Inspiring Thoughts. And this is how you guys will do it. So by looking around you, what are the things and thoughts in your mind that are good consequences of the contemporary world? After doing so, after thinking that thought, communicate it as an inspiring thought in this period of the global pandemic. Share it on Facebook and paste the screenshot on a Word file for submission. Send it to my Gmail, this Gmail, or to my personal messenger account that I'm using to communicate with you guys. So, for example, how will you do this? It's like, for example, you are thinking of look for the possible or the positive impact of globalization, since it is, from what we have discussed earlier, our material of the study. So that's it. So, for example, the internet is one impact of globalization. So during the global pandemic, the internet has helped you a lot to not feel bored, or yeah, to not feel bored and to just have fun and to forget about a lot of things that is happening outside your room or your house. So that could be one impact. So the quote could be something about thanking the internet, whoever made the internet, or whoever made the computers or the things that we are currently using. So something like that, and then provide a brief explanation as to why you have made that kind of thought or quote. So that's all. You can send it to my Gmail or to my Messenger. And that's all. And then thank you for listening.